Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. Today is our Strategy Elements series where we highlight certain tools on the TradeStation platform that allow you to backtest strategies, automate execution, and some of the more advanced strategy trading tools like Portfolio Maestro. Portfolio Maestro is the highlight of today's presentation, and we're going to get to it in just a moment. Before we do so, let's go through some of the introductions and disclosures. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation. Every symbol and idea that I talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only, and it's not a recommendation of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your schedules and being here and joining me in this presentation. I don't have a PDF or PowerPoint download today. I thought that we would just concentrate on the tool, go there directly, and highlight some of its functionality. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to switch over to my TradeStation platform and talk a little bit about Portfolio Maestro from a conceptual basis. The reason why TradeStation invested in a piece of software like Portfolio Maestro is to allow you to test trading strategies on a portfolio of symbols, hence the name. The idea here was not only to backtest on individual symbols like a chart analysis allows you to do. Right here, I have a futures contract, a continuous symbol at ES. I'm able to apply a strategy to add ES and look at the strategy performance report. But then the question is, how would the strategy perform if I apply it to a different product, a different futures, a different stock? That type of thing is what Portfolio Maestro allows you to do, because not only it allows you to take a strategy and apply it to a group of symbols, but it also allows you to see a performance report on all the symbols traded as if you had traded the strategy on all those symbols and give you an overall report on how the strategy did. And it allows you to do a very quick comparison and contrast between the symbols that were traded. So this is what a lot of strategy traders do. They not only develop a strategy, but they also apply it to a basket of symbols to make sure that the strategy holds consistent and that it provides similar performance across a portfolio. So let's go ahead and get started and go to apps and open up Portfolio Maestro. We're going to go ahead and set up our Portfolio Maestro to do a back test. One of the first things that I'm going to show you today is ranking and how do you rank symbols in a portfolio. Ranking sometimes becomes important considering that not everyone has unlimited capital to trade. So you do have to make a decision as to which symbols are going to be the trading candidates in your portfolio. Let's suppose that you apply this strategy over a list of symbols, let's say 10 symbols or 30 symbols, whatever the number of symbols is. And you only have a limited amount of capital, like five or $10,000. So you can only invest on so many symbols. So out of the 10 or 30 symbols that you have in your portfolio, you have a mechanism to tell which symbols are the ones that deserve your investment based on a particular ranking. So you're going to rank the symbol based on a particular metric and then apply the strategy to the ones that have the highest performance based on that metric. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I'm going to set up, I don't have a strategy group now. I'm going to do something really simple so that you can see how these ranking strategies really affect the way that the strategy is being traded. I'm going to create a strategy group. So let me go ahead and click on new over here. See it, new. All right. We're going to call this ranking. All right. I'm going to use ranking and money management in one place. Okay, I'm using ranking and money management in one place because those are the two tabs you see right here on the very top as you're creating your strategy group. So I want to just connect the two so that I know that I'm creating an example for both. And I'm going to use equities for this example. All right. I'm going to add a strategy. I'm going to use something custom. Custom meaning that it exists in your list of strategies as with the name custom. It's not something that you don't have. So go to your list of strategies and you're going to find a strategy called custom strategy long entry. And I'm just going to use a custom strategy because I just want a simple rule that we can all understand and see how the ranking and money management affect the symbols that are traded. I'm going to select it and click OK. It goes right there on the top of, or at least right here on the top of my Portfolio Maestro. I can see the inputs that are default on this particular strategy. I'm not sure if you can read that black text on the yellow, but it says LE condition equals C greater than O. C greater than O is close greater than open. So this strategy or this custom strategy, it's a simple rule. If the open is less than the closing price, then it'll generate a long entry. Pretty much simple idea, but I'm still going to change that into something different. So let me go over to my strategy group settings right here on the top. Click on strategy inputs, and I'm going to change the inputs of that strategy to close greater than 0. So we just simplified the rule, and we're not really looking at or comparing the prices of the actual candle. I'm just looking for any price that is greater than 0. So if any stock trades at a price greater than 0, then that's the condition that's going to trigger the long entry. Technically, every symbol on which the strategy is applied is going to trade because they're going to be trading at a price that is greater than 0. So that's going to be my strategy. Nothing fancy. Remember that today, we're just concentrating on the ranking part of the strategy, and we're going to see its application better if we simplify the entry. So let me go ahead and add symbols to my strategy group. So I'm going to go to the symbol list, add symbols, and let's see. I'm going to go here into TradeStation custom symbol lists, and I have a sample list here that is made up of 10 symbols. We see them right here listed, starting with Disney all the way to American Express. This is something that I created earlier. You can create custom symbol lists on your side as well. Again, this is just to demonstrate how these 10 symbols are going to be affected by the ranking and money management strategy that I'm going to be applying. I'm going to click OK. And the symbols get added here to my strategy group. I can see them right there. And at this point, then I go into the ranking tab and specify how is it that I want to rank the symbols and trade them. But in order for us to see the difference, let me go ahead and run the portfolio backtest without any ranking strategies so that we can then take a look at the positions again and see what changed. I'm going to come over here to manage portfolios, and I'm going to create a new portfolio that is going to be called ranking and money management. All right. And inside of this portfolio, we're going to add the strategy group that I just created, which has the same name, ranking and money management. And of course, you can see the elements of that group, which has the custom strategy that we just modified and the sample 10 symbols that we just added. From this point, I'm going to go here to backtest portfolio. Before I do, let's go ahead and check some portfolio settings. I don't have to change here. I don't have to change anything here in general. We have a tab for constraints and one for portfolio stops, which we're going to get to in a little moment. So nothing to change here yet. I'm going to cancel out of this and then perform the backtest. This brings up this dialog, allowing you to change what the initial capital is, what the date range is going to be used for the backtest. In this example, I'm backtesting 2 years of data for each one of those 10 symbols that I have in my symbol list. The backtest type is standard. I'm going to keep everything simple, and I'm just going to click on perform backtest. There we go. It finished doing the back test on those 10 symbols. I'm going to click on View Report now. And to recap, for those that are joining us just now, Portfolio Maestro is a tool that is part of the TradeStation software that allows you to backtest portfolio of symbols. So you can select a strategy. It can be one of the ones that come built into TradeStation or one that you create yourself and apply it to a portfolio of symbols to see how they perform on the whole portfolio. So here I have the performance report for this backtest. You can see that it's a losing strategy. $17,000 loss. So we want to know what was traded. Let's go here to the trade list and take a look at some of the information here. Let me see if I can. I have to double click on each one. Okay, that's fine. So you can see that this is the information that I wanted to view on this particular backtest. Okay. So we know that the strategy is going back 2 years from today's date. So the first date that you see here, December 22nd, 2021, is the first date that the strategy is able to put in a trade or transaction. Remember, there's something in a strategy backtest, and if you've done strategy backtests, you know this like the back of your hand, that there's something called max bars back setting. Max bars back is just a group of bars. I'm talking about historical price bars that are set or reserved for calculations of the strategy. The strategy uses a default of 50. So the first 50 bars in this historical backtest are reserved for calculations. That explains why the date is not October 10th. Today's October 10th, right? That explains why the date is not October 10th, 2021. It's December 22nd, 2021, because the first 50 bars are reserved for the calculation of the strategy. But in addition to that, you can see that the second row has a date of 10/9/2023. So the historical backtest that we're performing here uses closed bars, meaning that today's trading activity, which is still being built as a daily bar, it's not included in this backtest performance. So it's clear that not only we see when the trade was entered, but we also see what the standing of that trade is as of the close of yesterday. And it tells you that you're open on this particular Disney position. And this is the profit and loss that you're making on that position. So from the entry on December 22nd, 2021, we are down $6,500. But it's interesting here that all the trades that were entered, starting here with row number 1, Disney, Home Depot, Johnson & Johnson, Walmart, Intel, Microsoft, Apple, Cisco, and American Express, they were all entered on the same date, December 22nd, 2021. And the reason for that is because if you guys remember my strategy rule, I said, if any symbol is trading greater than 0, trade it. And that's all the trades that are here because the strategy will only take one trade in one direction at a time, meaning that once it trades long, once you establish a long position, it won't do anything different until there's an exit or the strategy does something else. In this case, we only have one single signal, which is the close greater than 0, and we don't have any exits. So that's all the strategy backtest was able to do. It was able to establish positions for these 10 symbols on December 22nd, 2021. But you can see that it traded the symbols. It doesn't have a time here, so we can theoretically say that it took them in the order that they're available on the symbol list. So if I go back to, let's see, let me go back to my portfolio. And if I open up my symbol list, it goes in this order that the symbols are Disney, HD, Johnson & Johnson. Let me go back to report. So you can see that Disney, HD, Johnson & Johnson. So that's the order that it picks. The way that the symbols are listed in your custom symbol list. This is a custom symbol list. So whatever order you see the symbols in, that's the way that the strategy is going to approach them and trade them. So let's talk about ranking and modifying, which symbols are going to be traded first. I'm going to come over here to my portfolio. All right. And we don't do it at this level. We don't do it at the portfolio level. The ranking is done at the strategy group level. I'm going to go to the strategy group, select my ranking and money management down here. I'm going to go to the ranking tab and ask the strategy to rank my symbols based on, let's see. A lot of these are based on technical indicators. So let's go ahead and rank them by percent change. If I select percent change, this window opens up and allows me to specify, okay, what type of percent change am I ranking by? Well, first, I'm going to do the filter method. I'm going to select the top ranked symbols. Filter limit, this is the number of symbols that you want the ranking to return. So in this case, I'm going to set that to 1. Ranking interval and calculation interval are interesting because the calculation interval is like the time frame of the chart that is being used for the calculation of percent change. Whereas the ranking interval is how often the ranking is going to happen. I can set the ranking to weekly so that every week we have a new ranking. So this is what I'm trying to say. Calculate percent change. Look for the top symbol based on my filter limit and rank the symbols on a weekly basis. And the ranking is based on the percent change based on a daily time frame, looking back 30 days. This is where the look back is specified. So it's going to calculate a 30 trading day percentage change, rank the symbols based on that percentage change, and then trade the top symbol. Let's say there's another filter or another input here that says minimum price required for a trade to be taken. I have 1.5, so it means that any symbol that is trading below $1.50 is not going to be traded. You can set that type of filters if you want, if you have a bigger list of symbols. I'm sure that the 10 symbols that I've selected are all trading above $1.50. So ranking high to low, it's defaulted to true. That's the way that I want it. And the rank limit, if you want to set some limits based on how you're ranking the symbols, that's something you can do as well. So I'm going to leave the other settings the way they are. And I'm just going to, once I turn this on, notice something really cool. Once I turn this on, if I go over here to my portfolio, and I go into my ranking and money management portfolio, my ranking strategy, the one that I just highlighted in yellow, has been added. So once you make that edit or that change to the strategy group level, then you'll see that strategy applied here in my Portfolio Maestro. All right, I can open that up and see some of the inputs for that ranking strategy. And I'm just going to go here and back test the portfolio. Same settings, I'm not changing anything. I just want to see how the back test changes and some of the values that are different. So let's go to the report. First, in the summary, you can see that we had a change in the profitability of the strategy. It's still a losing strategy, but it's losing less than what it was doing before. But what I'm most interested in is the trade list. All right, so starting here at the very top, we have, let me open this up a little bit more. All right, so starting right here at the very top, now you can see that Disney is not the first symbol that was traded. That's very clear now. The first symbol that was traded is Apple based on this percent change ranking. And that's the symbol that was traded on December 22nd. My second trade did not happen until January 4th. Remember that when we did the performance report at the beginning, every stock was traded on December 22nd because we were just looking for a very simple trading signal, which is close greater than zero. So every symbol had to be traded on December 22nd. Now things have changed because we told the strategy backtest, hold on, take the 10 symbols, calculate percent change, rank the symbols based on this percent change calculation, and only trade the top symbol. And that's the reason why on December 22nd, we're only trading Apple. Fernando is asking a question. Can you isolate each symbol in the trade list so I can compare P&L for each one? Yes, for sure you can. This is a combined report if you go to the summary. So the whole performance of all 10 symbols provided me a loss of $4,000. But if I go to the trade analysis and I go here to this little button on the bottom right to view hide, I can select all the symbols and then see how each symbol contributed to that loss. As you can see from all these columns, there was only 3 symbols that provided me positive results: Apple, Walmart, and Microsoft. All the other symbols provided me negative results, but all combined, I can see that in this column right here, which is the portfolio total. All right, so ranking is one thing. Make sure that you look at the other ranking strategies that are there. Let me go back here to my strategy group. Some of the other ranking available here are RSI values. You can rank by Williams R, performance return. That's interesting, right? It looks at the return of each of the symbols and ranks them based on that. But play around with the functionality and see how it affects the list of symbols. In the money management side, let me go here and add something like, this is more of a trade size. By default, it's using a fixed quantity. So even if I don't turn on a money management strategy, if I go back to my report, you probably notice that every symbol, let me go here to my trade list. If you look at the quantity column, every symbol, it's trading 100 shares. You know, if you trade 100 shares of Apple, trading at $173, that's a $17,000 investment. Whereas if you trade 100 shares of Cisco, trading at $62, that's only a $6,000 investment. So we're talking about over double the amount of investment if you were to trade Apple. So the risk involved in trading one security is going to be different than the other if your quantity is always a fixed number. So by using a money management strategy that changes your quantity based on whatever metric you're using, then you can equalize your position so you can have a balanced risk across all your positions. I can choose something like, for example, fixed amount by price, quantity per amount. And if I do a fixed amount by price, then I can say the dollar value that I want to invest on each one of those positions. Maximum quantity, 5,000 shares, and round the nearest 1 share. If I use this metric, which is fixed amount by price, let me go back to my portfolio. And now, in addition to my percent change ranking, which is my ranking strategy, I also have my money management fixed amount by price. Now, let me do the back test now and see how it affects the quantity of each one of the positions that are there. Let me view the report. And in my trade list, you can see the trades. You can see that it only traded 57 shares of Apple compared to the 158 shares that it traded for Cisco. Because now it's taking a look at the price of the security and calculating, you know, how much would it be to invest $10,000 on each one of these symbols. So it's very interesting how you can manage your trade size this way as well. I'm going to go to my strategies. Let's go ahead, and this is money management. Let's do fixed fractional with ATR risk. Now, this uses ATR, which is a very interesting concept, you know? The way that we did it before, we did it by the price of the security. So whatever the price of the security is, we specified an amount of money that we wanted to invest, and it automatically calculated the number of shares that it traded. Here, it's looking at ATR, and ATR is seen as risk. So the higher the ATR value means that the security is moving more, is a little bit more volatile. So it's going to use that, and it's going to decrease the number of shares traded for that position. Of course, you're going to have an opportunity here to say, okay, what is the percent risk? This is 5% of the equity. So we know that the starting point on any strategy backtest is $100,000. You can change that. That's just the default starting point for any strategy. So when we talk about 5% risk of equity, we're talking about that initial starting point. Any profits that you make after that are going to be added to your equity, and then your risk is going to be calculated based off that. And you find that setting when you perform the backtest. I'll show you that in a moment. But here we have 5% risk of equity. We have the ATR multiplier. Let's set this to 10. Multiplier because it uses a factor. First, it calculates what the ATR value is. Let's say that for Apple, the ATR is $2.50. If I set the multiplier to 10, it's going to multiply those $2.50 times 10, giving me a 25 type of numeric number. And it's going to use that number to then affect the ratio of shares that I'm trading for Apple. So we're going to do some modifications here, and you can see that effect, okay? The ATR look back is 10. And again, you have a way of specifying the maximum number of shares and how to round it down or up to. Let's go ahead and perform the back test. Let me go here to my portfolio. Again, I'm just looking at what I've added here to my back test, and you can see that the money management strategy has been changed to a fixed fractional with ATR risk. And here it says buy 10 times the ATR over 10 bars look back, but no more than 5,000 shares. Risk no more than 5% of equity. So it gives you a little bit more information as to what is it going to do. I do the back test. By the way, this is where you change the initial capital. Take a look, the $100,000. If it doesn't match what your account balance is, then you'd have to modify it here. Okay, so that the calculation of the trade size is done correctly or based on what is realistic on your side. So $100,000 is my starting point. I'm going to do the back test. I view the report. All right. And you can see the sizes that are being traded. You know, it traded 91 shares of Apple and 537 shares of Cisco. Remember that this is taking a look at ATR and making that decision. If you remember, when we were doing a direct amount of an investment, we saw that the shares of Apple and Cisco were not so far apart. I think it traded about 50 something shares of Apple and 150 something shares of Cisco. So it's kind of maybe triple the amount, double, triple the amount. But look at the difference now, you know, it only trades 91 shares of Apple and 537 shares of Cisco. Now we're talking about 5 times the amount of Cisco shares when compared to Apple. The reason for that is because maybe Apple has a higher ATR value than Cisco does. Cisco movements are not going to compare to Apple. And that type of calculation takes into account that risk. The more movement a security has, the riskier is considered, and the less shares the strategy is going to invest on that particular trade. So it's an interesting concept, right? Let's go back here to my portfolio, go to my strategy group one more time, I used a multiplier of 10, you know. If I choose a different multiplier, or even if I reduce the risk here, let's say that I do a 1% risk, and I'm going to use a multiplier of 5. Okay, then I go here to my portfolio. You can see that it reflects, where is it? Let me open up money management. I can see those changes reflected. And all I need to do is backtest the portfolio one more time. There we go. I'll go to the report. And you can see the number of trades here. Now, you can see that it's a little bit higher now. Now we're talking about 7 times, or 6 or 7 times the amount. But again, it's all based on ATR and what the calculation of ATR and the multiplier that you're specifying. So far, we've talked about 2 things you can do to your backtest or your portfolio backtest to change things up. We talked about ranking, way of shifting the symbols and deciding which ones are traded first, and also money management, meaning that you're affecting the trade size and some of those other components. Let's talk about constraints and portfolio level stops. But let's go ahead and take a look at a question here. Fernando is asking, can Portfolio Maestro do an optimization for the same list of symbols and also show the P&L results by symbol for each iteration? Definitely, yes, it can. When you do, let me show you very quickly. When you do the backtest and you come over here to backtest type, you can set it to an optimization type of backtest that allows you to do an optimization on all the symbols listed and see, the individual performance of each one of those symbols. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of this. All the portfolio level constraints and stops are going to be right here on the portfolio side. The ranking and the money management are on the strategy group side. You have those 2 tabs, but all the portfolio level constraints and stops are going to be right here on manage portfolio. So here I go into portfolio settings and you have constraints and portfolio stops. Let's suppose that we want to do a portfolio stop. I'm going to choose portfolio stop loss. This is a true. The period here, you have to put in a 1, a 2, or a 3 for day. That's just, the amount that you're losing for a particular period, either a month, a week, or a month. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this does. So 2 means a 2% portfolio drop. So if portfolio equity drops 2%, close all positions until the next week. So that's where the period kicks in. So we close everything until next week. If we want to close everything until next month, then we change this number to 1. Let me go ahead and see if that kicks in. Let me go ahead and set the stop. All right, and I'm going to click OK. And it's listed right here at the bottom. Portfolio stop. Let me backtest the portfolio and see if we have any portfolio stops kicking in. I'm going to view the report. All right, and let me open up my signal name, because you can clearly see that on December 22nd, we had our first trade for Apple. I still have my ranking strategy in place, if you notice, and money management. I'm using all of them. But you can see that on from December 22nd to May 19th, 2022, that's where the portfolio stop kicked in. But not only for that symbol. If you take a look at all the other symbols, all the other symbols, of course, are traded at different dates because we have our ranking and money management in place. But take a look at the exits. All the exits are done on May 19th, May 19th, May 19th. Because on May 19th, 2022 was the date that it calculated your stop and it realized that your whole portfolio of symbols, in this case 10 symbols, had lost 2% of your equity, at which point all positions were closed. So it's not until, let's see, right here. It's not until July 12th that is able to put in a trade again for, is that right? So 519, 519, 519, 519, 5. So the next trade, here it is. So I was trying to find, where the next trade happened, but it seems like at the very beginning of the strategy backtest, it traded all these symbols that you see above my yellow highlight. On May 19th, it closed every single one. And on May 24th, it started trading again. I'm sure that this 5/24/2022 is a Monday, because remember that we told the stop to close all positions and then wait until next week to trade again. And it seems that's exactly what it did. It lost the 2% on May 19th, closed all the positions, and then it resumed trading on 5/24, which I find very interesting. And, for anybody that's trading a portfolio, these are the type of things that you want to put into place. A lot of times, yeah, you're back testing a single security, you're looking at the performance report, but if you're trading multiple securities simultaneously, as a trader, you see them all as a whole. So you're looking at the whole portfolio, and sometimes if you've lost a certain amount of your capital, then you're going to stop your trading and resume at a later time. In addition to the stops, let me go back here to my portfolio. So in addition to the stops, we also have the constraints, and this is some other limitations you can put into your backtest. Like, let me show you an example. Maximum number of open positions right here. So you notice that when I looked at the backtest just a moment ago, I had 6 positions open. If I want to put a limit to that and say, I only want to have, 3 positions at any given moment. So this is my limit, maximum number of open positions. If I click OK to this, did I add it? No, it seems like it didn't. Let me go back in there just to make sure that I added constraints. Yeah, I didn't add it. So maximum number of open positions, I'm going to set this to 3, not 310, 3, and apply constraint right here. So for the stops and the constraints, you have to apply it and then click on OK. Stop, and I can see my portfolio constraint. Let me go ahead and backtest the portfolio one more time. Okay, and I'm going to view the report. And looking at the trade list right here, which we were looking at earlier, this is where I have all my signals and constraints and everything that I add to my strategy. You can see that on 5/20, it closed those top 3 positions. But if you notice, December 22nd was the first trade, January 4th was the second trade, and January 19th was the third trade. It stopped trading right after that. It wasn't until it closed on May 20th, all those 3 trades, that it actually went to trade the next symbol, Johnson & Johnson, on May 24th. So it's only keeping open 3 positions at a time. So that's the type of constraints that you can also put in a portfolio backtest. So let's recap, okay? Ranking allows you to, rank the symbols based on a particular metric. You decide which symbol is going to be traded first. Remember that we said that if you have a list of symbols, the symbols are going to be traded in that order in which they appear on the list, which is arbitrary. Sometimes it's alphabetical. So if you want to put a little bit of calculation on which symbols are traded first, then you have that ranking mechanism. You also have the money management strategy, which allows you to modify the trade size. How much investment am I putting on? What risk am I taking? And you have different money management strategies there as well. And then from a portfolio level type of strategy, you have the constraint, which limits the number of positions that you are trading, like in this example, and many other constraints that you can look at. And also, the portfolio stops. So you can set up a stop that tracks all your positions performance. And if there's a drop that meets a certain percentage, it'll close all your open positions. In addition to that stop or overall stop, you also have access to a profit target and a trailing stop if you want to use that as well. This is it. This is my presentation. All right. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your support of the TradeStation Masterclass. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope to see you in a future class. Great having you today. Goodbye, everyone.